Hey, it's Andrew from Nero, and today we're going to look at installing our 7400 series device with asset management capabilities. This is going to be installed in a covert, hidden fashion using a plug-and-play Y cable. So there is no vehicle electronics to be doing here. This is all abilities installation. The hardest part about the installation is going to make it look neat, and I will talk you through some steps to help with that. There's a few components you'll need to install your 7400 series device. First of all, we've got the GPS black box. We then have our covert Y cable to do OBDII installation. If I just pull those out the way, we have an interface cable which is going to go on to your asset management scanner, and that's going to go in the back of the truck. We're going to deal with installing this a little bit later, and we're going to start off with the GPS device. And the primary connection point of the GPS device is going to be the OBDII port of the vehicle, which is typically on the driver's side of the vehicle around the pedals. And once we've done that, we're actually going to be replacing what you see factory fitted. A couple of reasons for that is, first of all, nobody can see anything that's plugged in to the OBDII port. And secondly, when you take your vehicle into a mechanic for diagnostics, they'll be able to plug in their diagnostics machine without having to unplug your GPS device. So it avoids losing any driving data of the vehicle if somebody else is borrowing your device. Now, the majority of installations will not need any plastic trim removing, but if you can see just above our OBDII port here, I'm actually going to pull off one of these pieces of plastic trim. These will pull off very easily. You might need a plastic piece removal tool if you can't get it off, but this has just got a few clips on it. And just gently pull that off, because you want to make sure that you save the feet of the plastic device, because they will clip into the vehicle again. Now, this is not a necessity. The reason why I'm doing this today is to give me a little bit more light into my installation area. This OBDII port was secured with two small hex screws. I've already taken those out already, but you just need a small hex bit to remove those out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this OBDII port out of its bracket there. There is clips as well as the screws, and that you can see is now hanging free. What we want to do is completely remove it from this bracket so we can replace that with the end of the Nero cable. And we're just going to tuck that up in there and pull that very gently out the back of that cavity. And what you can see now is you can see that that is hanging loose, and the hole where we had our OBDII port before is now full and clear. Now, what we're going to do next is take our covert Y cable. So there's three main areas of this cable. So we have one connector, 20 pin, which goes into our GPS device. We have one OBDII style connection, which is going to connect to the factory fitted port that we've just removed. Then we have our blank end, which we are going to put in our factory fitted OBDII port's place. Now, this has a bracket that goes around it. If you don't know how to secure these brackets to the cable, there's two small metal clips. We have another video specifically dedicated to putting these brackets on and how you can find the right bracket for your vehicle. We have brackets for most North American manufacturers to give you a clean install. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to start off, before making any connections, in getting this OBDII port into our blank space where we've removed this OEM or factory fitted OBDII port. So I'm going to start from the back and work my way through to this bracket here and just have that hanging out. Now, as I mentioned, this one was secured with hex screws. So I'm actually going to put a hex screw back into that device. And I'm just going to try and find my screwdriver. Here we are. And it's a single hex screw here that we need on this bracket. I just pop my screw through gently and locate the hole where that needs to go. And as I mentioned before, this means that your passengers in the vehicle, your drivers, are not going to see anything plugged into that OBDII port. And your mechanic is going to be able to connect their diagnostics machinery to the OBDII port without disconnecting your GPS device. So once we've got that port replaced, we can start making some of our other connections. So connection number 2 is going to be taking this large, thicker OBD2 port that you see as part of the Y cable and pushing that into the factory fitted OBD2 connection that we removed at the beginning of the video. This is what's going to give the GPS device power, all the ignition and driving information, fuel lights, check engine lights, etc. And once that's done, you can actually just go and slide that into that cavity up at the top. So that leaves us with one connection, and that is going to be for our GPS device. Now, before you start this installation, have a look at the back of your vehicle and see how you're going to get the cable to the front. So you'll see in this instance, we have a solid metal bulkhead. So what I did was I actually traced the wires from my lights here because I've already got a place going into the cab of the vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end with the small light connector of this and start tracing the wires into the cab of the vehicle. And I'm just going to tuck that down there and leave the majority of the cable out here right now. So there's two ends of our device, and one looks like this, and there's a little gray connector that's going to scan our tags. Now, word of caution here. If you have bought one of our 7400 devices and you get one of these, which is dark gray or black, please stop and call the support office right away. You've got mismatched components, and we don't want that. So if this is not gray on your installation for the 7400 device, stop what you're doing, call the support office. Now, we recommend installing this with some double-sided tape and a cable tie to make sure it's secure. So we'll start off by making this physical connection here between our interface cable and the scanner. And you've got two little nuts that are going to tighten up there to give you a really nice connection, which is going to keep you safe if you're on rough ground or you're off-roading with your vehicle. And then find where you're going to secure it. So what I've decided here is I'm going to secure the device on my roof, and you do want it in the back of the vehicle if you can. So try and find a way around it if you have a bulkhead. This is going to make sure that the range of the scanner is optimal and you get all of your equipment scanned in one go. This will work behind this in the cab, but it's going to reduce the amount of scanning technology. So once you've found where you want to put it, I'm going to put it right here on my roof because I can see I've got a clear path for a cable tie. I'm just going to secure that up there like so, and then I'm going to take a nice long cable tie, which I have already prepared, and just go through the roof there to secure that. It will just give you a nice clean install. There we go. Once that's done, if you've got a longer cable tie, you can trim that down to side. We got to go back into the inside of the vehicle and just reroute this cable, make sure that everything is nice and neat. It will be easier for you to store excess cable underneath the dash rather than in the back, but it's up to you. We recommend starting here and working to the GPS in case you don't measure correctly and you have to undo all of your nice, neat wiring. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to route this cable through this plastic trim that I have here, and then we'll take that into the vehicle. If you do remove any plastic trim, please look after the little feet on it very carefully. Once they're broken, it is very hard for them to go back on. And we're not going to worry too much about this excess cable that I have down here for now. We're going to reroute that when we get into the cab. So the piece of plastic trim that we removed before is going to come in very handy here. We're going to take that device wire and we are going to feed that through. And what we want to do is we want to end up with that on the floor with the GPS device. At this point, you're going to start going back to the GPS device. Your GPS device will come with this small clip here. That is a stress clip to avoid the cable tearing when it's on the device. So this little cable has got a white end and it goes into the white connector on the GPS device. And where it says serial on the bottom of the GPS device, you're going to gently place this 3M pad there. And that is a stress connector, so we're keeping the wires nice and taut. Keep this on there for about 5 to 10 seconds just to make sure that that adhesive has gone on nicely. And then you're going to take your serial port, and it is shaped with 2 little grooves, and you'll see 2 little grooves on the GPS device. You're going to pop that into there nice and simply. You'll hear a click, and then through this clip here, you're going to install that cable. So from the connections point of view, everything is now installed. These little ridges around the GPS device are for cable ties, but you can also do cable ties from the back to the front as well, depending when you're securing the device. This is all ready now to go back underneath the dashboard. There's plenty of cable for the GPS device and the asset management collector. If you wanted to route this behind the glove box of the vehicle, you can. You can go behind the stereo, but it will work nicely around the driver's pedals as well. So that's it. All your connections are made. You're connected to the OBDII port for power and all of the vehicle diagnostic information. You're connected to your asset management. All of this can now go back up underneath the dashboard into whatever cavity you have. But we do ask that you put 2 cable ties as a minimum around the GPS device, avoiding everything like the brakes, steering, any knee airbags. And that's to avoid any unwanted harsh cornering, harsh braking alerts. So you want to make this piece as solid as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide that under there into this cavity. Every vehicle is slightly different, but find somewhere that that device is going to go nicely. And then once you got the device up there, use some extra cable ties, get that excess cable, and then tuck that up there as well. Once all of that is done, you've got one final piece to do in the puzzle. Full piece of plastic panel that we just had before, and we're going to get that back into the vehicle. So same steps as removing. If you had to remove any plastic pieces, just follow where the little feet are, and they are going to clip nicely back into the vehicle with a nice satisfying click. There we go. And there you have it. That's not too much of a stressful install, right? It truly is plug and play. There's one more thing that we're going to ask you to do though, just to make sure that everything's working properly. Start the engine of your vehicle, leave it running for about 30 seconds, and then once that has elapsed, turn off the engine, call our support desk, and they'll do an over-the-air test to make sure that the cellular connectivity, satellite connectivity, and ignition sensing is all working well, and you'll be good to go.